Have you ever had one of those days where you can't seem to focus? Your to-do list feels like it just keeps getting longer and longer. Even the smallest decisions feel exhausting. That's not just a busy day. Those are early warning signs of overwhelm. And here's the thing, if you catch it early, you can stop it from spiraling into full-blown burnout. And so today I'm going to show you exactly how to spot overwhelm before it takes over and what you can do the moment you notice it. As high performers and leaders, we tend to normalize stress. We tell ourselves it's just part of the job, part of success, part of life. And yes, stress is part of life. However, it doesn't have to turn into overwhelm and it doesn't have to turn into burnout. What neuroscience tells us is this. When stress is constant, your nervous system stays stuck in fight or flight. So, this impacts your clarity, your ability to make decisions, your energy, and even your relationships. So, the goal is that we're able to notice when we are feeling stress and that we don't continue to stay in that place of feeling stress and feeling overwhelmed. The earlier you notice overwhelm creeping in, the faster you can take action and the more you can protect your well-being, your leadership, and your performance. So overwhelm usually shows up in one of three ways, in your body, in your mind, and in your behavior. So physically, you might notice things like headaches, muscle tension, shallow breathing, or disrupted sleep. Mentally, it could look like trouble concentrating or constant mental chatter or forgetting things that you normally wouldn't. Behaviorally, it can show up like procrastination or irritability or overcommitting or avoiding tasks altogether. So when two or more of these things start showing up at the same time, it's a signal and your system is telling you that it's time to pause and reset. So the goal is that we are paying attention and that we're noticing so that we don't end up in full-blown burnout. So let's break it down a little bit more with these five things to watch out for. Number one is decision fatigue. Even small choices like what to eat for lunch feels like a really heavy lift, right? Something to just pay attention to. Is this happening more often than not? Number two, energy shifts or energy swings. You're wired late at night, but you can't get going in the morning, or you feel like you're running on fumes by mid-afternoon. So paying attention to our energy throughout the day. Yes, sometimes we need more sleep. Yes, sometimes we need to fuel our body more. Yes, sometimes we need to go to the doctor and get our hormones checked. There are other things that we need to pay attention to. But these are just warning signs or opportunities for us to tune in and pay a little bit more attention to ourselves. Number three is short fuse. So you have less patience than usual, you're snapping at people, your coworkers, your family, your friends, or you have less patience with yourself. So paying attention to how much patience we have, how much compassion we have, how much like ourselves we feel throughout the day. When we notice that things feel off, it's important that we notice it, but it's also important that we pay attention and tend to our own needs. Number four, loss of perspective. So this is like when small problems start to feel massive and they start to feel overwhelming. Things that maybe before wouldn't have felt like a big deal, but now they feel really big or really heavy, right? It's time to pay attention. Number five, disconnection. You start avoiding people, you started avoiding activities that you used to enjoy, that you usually enjoy. If any of these start showing up more than once or twice a week, your body and your mind are giving you a heads up. And it's time to listen, right? These are things that many people have just normalized or they've been going on for so long where it's like, oh, well, I haven't felt like myself in a long time, or I haven't felt like doing the activities that I used to love in a really long time. So even though I'm saying like, hey, if you start noticing these things like the decision fatigue or energy shifts or short fuse or loss of perspective or disconnection, if you notice that, hey, this has actually been going on for a month or 6 months or a year, It doesn't mean that that is your new norm and that has to be the way that it's always going to be, right? Pay attention to these things. And one of the quickest ways to catch this overwhelm is to do these check-ins. I have lots of videos on these check-ins, so I'm just going to really quickly go over three things that you can do in a short period of time. One is a body scan where you can, let's just do it right now, right? You're just going to take a moment. You can close your eyes if you want or keep your eyes open, and you're paying attention to how your body is feeling, right? So from your head down to your toes, paying attention, checking in, noticing tension, noticing how your breath feels, maybe noticing how your heart feels as it's beating in your chest, right? So quick body scan. The next one is a mind scan, and that's checking how present you feel, how many thoughts you have swirling around, right? Are we able to be present and connected in this moment? Do we feel like we have just a million thoughts swirling around and we can't really make sense of all of them? And number three is a stress scan. So it's checking in with our stress level in the moment. Can rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. How stressed do I feel? So remember, stress in itself is not bad. It's how we are responding to the stress. So if a stressor happened this morning, I'll use the old, example of our driving to work. If you still drive to work and you're not working remotely, but right, you're driving somewhere and somebody cuts you off and it felt stressful in the moment. Are we holding the stress an hour, 5 hours, 10 hours later, right? That's what we want to pay attention to. I'm just giving that example. Stress in itself is not bad. How are we responding to the stress? How is our body reacting to the stress? What are we noticing after the initial stressor has passed? Or are we staying in a state of stress all the time, continuously? And then what do we do when we spot it, right? So I gave those three just check-ins. What do we do when we spot it? Well, first is breathing. I love breathing, well, because breathing is amazing and I love being able to breathe, but also it's really accessible. And so our body is typically going to breathe on its own, but sometimes we don't realize that we are breathing in a shallow way, which can increase anxiety and stress, or that we're holding our breath. So one thing that we can do really simply, easily is just breathe with more intention, more awareness. Breathing all the way in, all the way out. Again, there's lots of different breathing practices. I have a lot of examples on my channel as well of different breath practices you can do, but the simplest one is just deeper inhalations and deeper exhalations, breathing all the way in, breathing all the way out. Right, you can do that for 30 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minutes, right? Any amount of time can be helpful. And number two is changing your state, um, changing what your body is doing. So that means if you have been running around going a million miles a minute, maybe the change would be that you sit. I love laying on the ground on my desk, oh, not my, on my desk, on my floor with my legs elevated on my chair, right? Sometimes I just do that in the middle of the day, changing my state or getting up and going for a walk or, doing some stretches, moving your body at your desk, doing something that is a change from what you are doing. Movement can be really helpful unless you are, yes, movement can be very helpful. And sometimes stillness is what we need. If we've been just doing way too many things that we've been moving our body doing, sometimes we just need to lay there. Again, you can lay on your ground with your arms out. That can be really helpful. And third, reassessing our priorities, checking in with ourselves. What is important right now? What actually needs to be done right now? What is in alignment with my goals, my vision for the future? Sometimes we get distracted and pulled into all sorts of other directions. So another simple thing you can do in the moment is just check in. What is important? What needs my attention most in this moment? So I'm simplifying these things down with the check-ins and what we can do in the moment. Yes, I understand that when we are in full-blown burnout it is a big deal, right? My goal is that these are wake-up calls for you, the folks that might be feeling overwhelmed, so that you don't get to full-blown burnout, that you're just able to check in with yourself. I'm sharing simple small things, right? These are short things that we can do. We can take 30 seconds to breathe. We can take a minute to lay down on the ground. These are simple things that you can do, but they can have a big impact. So, my invitation for you is that you are checking in with yourself more often and that you are honoring your needs and doing these small things that you can do because the small things build up over time. So, the small things like, oh, I'm just going to not go to the restroom all day and sit and work at my desk and hold my breath when I'm reading these stressful emails, right? Those are little things, but they add up over time. So we can do the little things that add up in a positive way over time that support our well-being and support our ability to be able to make the impact that we are here to make in the world. Let's take a deep breath right now. Breathe. Remember, that is something that you can do anytime, anywhere, unless you're underwater. Don't do that. But right, breathing is something that can be really helpful for us most anytime and anywhere. Remember, the small things add up over time. Overwhelm doesn't hit overnight. There are lots of signals that show up for us first. There are lots of signals that show up before we're in burnout. My my hope is that you notice them, that you're paying attention to those small things. So you can protect your energy, you can protect your well-being, you can positively impact how you are showing up in the world so that you can continue doing the things that you care about. So hopefully this was helpful, maybe a wake-up call for you. Again, there are lots of other recordings of content that we have on nervous system tools and ways to manage stress and anxiety. Bottom line, pay attention to your own needs and remember that it's not selfish. It is essential for you to be able to continue doing the work that you care about and to be able to show up for your family, your friends, your work in the way that you want to show up. So thanks for being here. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. And I hope that something that we talked about today was helpful for you and that you remember to take care of yourself while you are also taking care of others. Thanks for being here. Bye.